What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 1 of the QB Showcase here on the PFF NFL show, where we're going to take a look at some quarterback performances throughout every single week of the season here with you guys. I'm Trevor Sikkema, and our resident quarterback guru that we have here with me is Seth Galina. Seth, how we doing, my friend?
I'm good. Excited to be back on It's Just Football. It's been a while, and anyways, I'm excited for you. NFL show, hosted the NFL show on PFF, and back in Cincinnati, Ohio, where you belong, to be honest. It fits your personality.
That's what Chris loves to hear. Yeah, I'm actually broadcasting from Chris's house, actually. Just like we got the beautiful brick and the television and the set behind me. People don't know. The set is actually built in Chris Collinsworth's house. No, it's not. It's not. Don't be taking that too far, people. But dude, I'm excited to be back here with you, getting to do a show with you because you've been doing your thing on the B2B side of the business and everything, and you've been absolutely killing it. But when we thought about doing a quarterback show, you're the resident PFF quarterback expert. So, you were the only choice here. I also, love the shrubbery behind you. Love a little greenery that we're getting on your backdrop, too. So you're upgrading a little bit there. So, hey, appreciate that as well, man. I'm excited about this, though. This should be a lot of fun.
Every episode, it's going to be more shrubbery, as you said. Just adding one each week.
By the time we get to week 18, it's just going to be a rainforest. You're going to have actual, animals and birds, frolicking behind you, and that's going to be the set.
Yeah, it's going to be like when Ace Ventura goes back to his apartment in the first movie, and it's just full of animals. That's me.
That's 100% what we needed here on the show. All right, let's dig into the quarterbacks. But before we do, look, as a busy parent out there, I know that you want to give your kids a head start with their financial future. But investing can often be confusing and time-consuming. We know that here. Fabric by Gerber Life, though, makes it easy for you to set up an investment account for your child that grows with them and helps prepare them for that financial future. Fabric by Gerber Life, it was designed by parents for parents to make it easy to plan for and manage your family's financial path. With a UGMA account from Fabric, you can start investing in your child's future today. Now, what is a UGMA account? UGMA stands for Uniform Gifts to Minors Act. While your kids can't invest while they are minors, a UGMA account allows you to invest on their behalf and gives their investments more time to grow. You love it. No contribution limits either. Multiple tax advantages, SIPC insured up to $500,000. It's wonderful. No commission fees, just a low, flat monthly maintenance fee. Fabric is partnered with Gerber Life, which is a name that is trusted by millions of families like yours for over 50 years. So join those thousands of parents who trust Fabric to help protect their family today. Start investing in your child's future at meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. That is meetfabric.com/PFFNFL, MEET fabric.com/PFFNFL. Portfolios are managed by Fort Washington Investment Advisors Incorporated. Additional services provided by Apex Clearing Corporation. All investing is subject to risk. Monthly minimum contribution required. Learn more at meetfabric.com. Seth, I think we have to talk about a player who the PFF grade didn't exactly line up with the stats that we saw on the stat sheet and the win that they got in the win column, and that is with the Philadelphia Eagles and specifically Jalen Hurts. Hurts earned a 33.3 passing grade this past weekend, but went 20 for 34 with 270 yards, and his team got the big win. So this is one of those quarterbacks that I definitely wanted to dive into because the whole point of PFF is to take a look at how the performance was on every single play, not just the final result of the game. So when you watched Hurts, I want to kind of have this conversation here with you. What did you see with him when it came to there just being such a big gap between what we saw on the stat sheet and then his overall grade for us?
I think the gap in terms of the PFF grade compared to the traditional box score stats has to do with all the big plays were all on kind of like what I'd call designer concepts. Like these are like, in a sense, one-off concepts that you can't really run throughout the game, but you pick your spots for it. And the kind of obvious one is the Saquon Barkley first touchdown pass,
Yeah.
where Saquon Barkley is running through the offensive line to run a wheel route from the opposite side of the field, and he gets open. It's actually a good throw. Like I'm not even going to say it's not a good throw.
No,
but
it was a good throw. I think that was one of his big time. He had 2 big time throws, and I'm pretty sure that was one of them.
Right, and so like that ended up being a good throw, like for sure. But like I think there was a lot of those type of plays where you ended up with guys wide open. I mean, like the AJ Brown out and up. That's not like a great quarterback play. He's taking a snap, kind of thinking like, I'm pretty much always going to AJ Brown on this out and up. I'm pretty much always going to Saquon Barkley on this kind of wheel route. And you have a lot of those type of plays. You have a lot of runs after catch. But other than that, and I will say, like, the move to Kellen Moore's offense is going to give them those opportunities. I mean, those are all really good designer plays, which I think they lacked last year with Brian Johnson.
Yeah.
In a way that they probably had them with Shane Steichen the year before they went to the Super Bowl. So you're going to get that with Kellen Moore. The issue is, I don't know if and this is going to be the issue for the whole season, is like, are we getting anything more out of Jalen Hurts that we've been wanting for a couple of years now? Like even when they went to the Super Bowl, this was a guy who threw the ball outside, threw it to his big time playmakers outside, which is fair. I would also do that.
Right.
But didn't want to, or couldn't throw to the middle of the field. Everything was outside. You have this tremendous offensive line over his career there that makes everything a lot easier. You're in better down and distances because the run game works. You're not getting pressure as much. But if that offensive line takes the hit and you're thinking more of the interior, with Lane Johnson and Mailata, you're good on the outside.
Right.
But if it takes the hit, then everything's not as hunky-dory as it's been.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't love the fit. We'll see as it goes forward. I still don't love the fit in Kellen Moore's offense with this type of quarterback. Kellen Moore wants to be a drop-back passer. He'll have to come around to where Hurts is. I think we saw some of it. And like I said, the design stuff was good. Like they're going to be able to create explosive plays because I think Kellen Moore is good at that stuff.
Right.
But for the most part, this is a drop-back passing offense. I don't think it fits Hurts. And then going back to the grade, I mean, the grade is just because, dropped interception, like bad plays. That and inaccurate balls, I thought, a lot of the time. So I'm not sure what to think going forward. I don't think Hurts is as good as people thought he was after the Super Bowl run. I don't think he was good. I don't think he was that good even during the Super Bowl run. So I think there's a lot. If this O-line takes a step back, if the mesh isn't right with the new offensive coordinator, I think the grade kind of fits what I think we'll see for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and it's not that he's not going to have better games than this, but and I'm with you. I don't want to take away some of the good that was in that game, but again, the whole point of our process and being more transparent is we're grading every single play that a player has. And going back and watching all of his snaps, the majority of Jalen Hurts this past week against Green Bay you felt like you wanted more. You wanted better. Especially for a quarterback that people talk about as a top 10 quarterback in the league, and obviously led his team to a Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And they had the fantastic start to last season, even though it sort of, obviously unraveled in a bad way. But, for example, over the middle, you mentioned the over the middle stuff. 1 for 4 over the middle when it was beyond 10 yards. And 2 of his 4 turnover-worthy plays came in that. So he only attempted 4 passes of 10 yards or more over the middle of the field. 2 of them were turnover-worthy plays. 2 of them were interceptions. Like, they were bad. And the thing about Hurts is that sometimes a turnover-worthy play, like you can get a turnover-worthy play and it might not yield like the lowest negative grade that you can get on a singular play performance for PFF. But Hurts's turnover-worthy plays were bad, like really bad. Like throws that should have never been made, that he knows shouldn't have been made. Like you were watching, if you watched Bo Nix against the Seattle Seahawks, there were a handful of throws that, obviously everybody talks about the one interception to the sideline where Adam Archuleta is like, oh no, before the ball is even out of his hand. Like, Hurts had multiple throws that were like that, and we're talking about a veteran in this league, and that's why, it wasn't just a turnover-worthy play. It was throws that should have never been made for him. And that obviously dings his grade even more because it's probably the worst type of turnover-worthy play. And then you also look at, I'm not talking about the confusion on the snap when he had the snap kind of like bounce off his chest when he was in shotgun formation. If you want to just call that, hey, that was miscommunication, that's not on Hurts, that's fine. We didn't even call that a turnover-worthy play. But him botching the snap on the QB sneak at the goal line that Saquon just happened to fall on, like, that's another turnover-worthy play. So technically he had 5 in this game. And he had some good throws. It's not like he didn't have any good throws in the game. The Eagles won the game. The field was all over the place. And so, when I was watching Hurts, it was so weird. His lower body and his footwork for so many throws just were not in sync. It was like he was afraid to truly step up into passes. I don't know if it had to do with the field or what, but there were even a couple of throws that weren't even turnover-worthy play throws, that the ball placement, the accuracy was off because it's like he was, I don't know, it was almost like he was like still playing hurt even a little bit. He was not moving the way that he needed to, too much upper body. The ball wasn't leaving his hand in a repeatable way, and he just looked really, really uncomfortable against the Packers. So, yeah, I think that a lot of people look at that grade and the fact that the Eagles got the win, and there's a lot of pushback for it, but when you go back and you really watch Hurts, to the people who probably believe in him the most, if you were to go back and watch every single snap, you would also have to be disappointed in how he played. They got the win, and obviously it's good for the Eagles, but Hurts' performance in that was not his best. There's no doubt about it.
You talk about the injury stuff from last year, and I think a lot of people kind of were holding on to that and saying, well, it was kind of like this knee injury or whatever it was. They didn't really want to talk about it. And so now he's healthy, everything's going to be better. And yeah, potentially, like, I'm not going to discount that, but like, Hurts was never this incredible runner. Like, I would put, in terms of like the tier of quarterbacks who are mobile and runners, he's probably near the bottom of that list in terms of being able to create plays. He's not a really great scrambler. You can use him probably better on inside runs, but then you get into that aspect of like, how many can we call for a quarterback in the NFL, right?
It's a Cam Newton thing. Like, Cam Newton could get all sorts of yards running between the tackles, but how often do you actually want Cam Newton doing something like that?
Exactly. It's the Josh Allen thing, as well. When they get into bad situations, then they use Josh Allen, but they don't necessarily have to move the football. And it's kind of the same thing with the Eagles because of how good that offense has been. But so you're like, hey, well, we can't really do that type of stuff. His pressure response is not great. He loves to bubble outside, like kind of bubble through the back door of the pocket rather than kind of stepping up and navigating. And again, for a guy who we talk about as a mobile player, outside of the pocket, he's pretty bad. Like, actually really, really, really bad outside the pocket. And because he cuts his field down in half because he's always running to his right, which is where his arm is. But he still really can't, he can't really contort his body. He doesn't have that kind of flexibility. I think when you see some other guys in the league have, we're going to see it a lot in the next, hopefully 10, 12 years from Caleb Williams, that type of flexibility on the run. He doesn't have that. So there's a lot that you have to do to help this offense besides, I would say the main thing is having good players, and A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. And
helps. Definitely
and Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, and then, previously Jason Kelce, like, it helps. But yeah, so like, yeah, I get the whole injury thing, but I'm not sure it really really elevates him this year, and we've seen it already. Like, it's just not, like you said, maybe it's the turf. Everyone was slipping in that game, maybe something there with that, but it's not. It's funny because it's like troubling, and yet at the same time, do I think the Eagles are not going to score 20 plus points a game? I probably will.
Right.
And then my pushback to my own point there is, like, the Packers defense was pretty vanilla. Like, we talked the whole offseason about, okay, you got to blitz Hurts, you got to pressure Hurts, because his own pressure response, like I said, about leaving the pocket from the back door is not good. And, the offense last year, and people talk about like not being on the same page with the receivers when they would get pressure and stuff like that. Well, Packers did not test it at all. You can look at the blitz numbers and they're like fine, but I don't know what else to call them, but like they're kind of fake blitzes. I mean, like there's like one linebacker who's starting at 5 yards and who blitzes like right off the snap. Like, we can handle that, right? Like, we're good. We're an NFL team. We can handle that.
Right.
But we're talking about not a lot of exotic stuff, not a lot of real cover zero, not a lot of exotic stuff that they were bringing. So it kind of remains to be seen whether this Eagles offense has fixed those issues. Like I said, even though the numbers are probably good, I haven't looked them up. I'm pretty sure they're probably okay versus the blitz. Take it with a grain of salt.
So we will see. We will see how Hurts is able to play throughout the rest of the season. I mean, if you want to say like, oh, it was the turf and things like that, obviously he'll have a bounce back performance. But I just think that it's really noteworthy. Whether you agree with how low the grade was or not, Hurts did not come out of the gate in a strong way. And traveling, playing in Brazil, new turf, like all that kinds of stuff. I do think that goes into it. So we'll see how much he can bounce back. But I think that's the way that you phrase it. How much can he bounce back? What is the true sort of like medium of where the middle is of how Jalen Hurts is just going to play for most of the season? Because I think a lot of people think that it's at an elite level, but it might be a little bit lower. We'll see. Obviously, it was just not a good game for him to start out with. 5 potential turnover-worthy plays, not being able to hit over the middle, just the inconsistent accuracy with how his feet were, with where the ball, with how he was releasing the ball. A lot of that stuff was struggles. They got the win, which is great for him, but a repeat performance from Hurts in that way, I don't think gets you a win most weeks in the NFL. So we'll see how he's able to do moving forward. Kyler Murray's the next quarterback that I want to talk about. Cardinals came out of the gate hot. We ended up leading this game 17-3. They lose the game overall in Buffalo. A little bit of a heartbreaker for him because they were sort of right there and they could have kind of captured this one on the road. Really started the season strong. But he got a 69.3 passing grade. He was 21 for 31, just 162 yards. He had one big-time throw, one turnover-worthy play. What did you think about Murray in this past game, and then just overall sort of what you think about him? Because, man, we've talked about this a couple of times. Last fully healthy season he had was an incredible MVP-worthy type of a year. And then the next year, first half of that season, okay, he wasn't playing as well, tears the ACL. Last year he misses half of the season rehabbing, so he kind of comes back. But this now is the first real year, full off season, fully healthy. The team's getting a little bit better, where we could start to see what the ceiling of Kyler Murray is. So what did you think about his performance versus the Bills and how it hints at what Murray's ceiling could be now coming off of that injury after a fully healthy offseason?
Yeah, I think, when you talk about him being an MVP candidate for big stretches of his career at this point, and the fact that we're underrating him, we're not talking about him as much, I'm ready to jump on the bandwagon. I think I started this offseason when I was thinking about it, and I love what they do on offense in general. When I watched them with some of the backup quarterbacks that had to play for them early in the season, you saw some really good things that they were doing. I think the offensive coordinator's name is Drew Petzing. I really like what he was doing. And then when Kyler comes back, this is a top unit, right? Kyler in the second half of the season, in the last 8 games or whatever it was, like, they were putting together a lot of points and a lot of scoring drives. So I think there was a lot to like going into it. You add a player with the ceiling that Marvin Harrison Jr. has. So you're thinking, I don't think they're going to be a playoff team, but, if you're a betting person, looking at their, in the preseason now, looking at their, betting them like over wins or stuff like that, or things of that nature, Kyler Murray comeback player of the year type thing. And we're getting him in an offense that's not run by Cliff Kingsbury. Like, I think that's important.
Very key. Very key. Although he was an MVP candidate for an offense that was run by Cliff Kingsbury.
So much of the Cliff offense is one-on-ones, right? Like, can my great player just win one-on-ones? Can DeAndre Hopkins just win a lot of one-on-ones on the outside? And they did that because they had 2 singular players, really, in that offense back in the day, which was DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray. Now you're in a situation where okay, the offensive coordinator can help you with some easy buttons. And we saw it last year. We saw it a bit this year, and already this year, though I would even say like the Bills defense did some really good things. Like this is a defense that we're not really sure about in Buffalo, but Sean McDermott was on it. Really doing some stuff that you don't really see the Bills do a lot in terms of disguising coverages. And it kind of messed with them. And the Cardinals didn't have a lot of explosive plays. They really couldn't get a lot of guys open down the field.
No.
Minus like the bust in coverage that could have led to the game-winning touchdown to Marvin Harrison. I don't really blame Kyler for that because I think Cam Lewis, the nickel, is like jumping right when. Anyways, you can't. I don't think you could really see Marvin Harrison until it was too late. But so like even with all that said, like they couldn't really do a good job of getting guys open down the field. Even though I just said I really like the OC. Marvin Harrison, well, he'll be fine, but it wasn't his best game. Did have a wide open drop, can get a lot of separation.
Right.
But they still move the ball pretty well in spite of all that. Greg Dortch is a good player. Michael Wilson's a good player. James Conner's a good player. Offensive line
We're getting
has
there.
a chance to gel.
There. Yeah.
So I think there's a really good chance that this offense scores a lot of points. And I don't think he'll be in the MVP discussion because the defense is also going to allow a lot of points, which is the issue for, wins and losses and MVP votes. But I really like this idea of Kyler Murray in this offense. He's still a young player, and as they grow with Gannon as the head coach and Petzing as the OC, I like what I've seen in the last half of last year and a little bit of this year so far.
Yeah, I mean, it was an interesting game for Murray because I think that he played well. I don't think he trusts his receivers right now. I really don't. And when I watched it, that is sort of what I came away with. And there's reason to believe so. Like I'm excited about Michael Wilson as well, but still, he's a second-year breakout candidate. It's not like he's Justin Jefferson. Marvin Harrison Jr., for as talented as he is, he's a rookie. And I thought that Harrison Jr. sort of struggled to get off of contact, whether it was press coverage or when he got down the field. He was good at finding stuff. What'd you say?
Yeah. When he got to his break point, yeah.
Yes, yeah. No, I thought that he struggled to get off. There were a couple of times when, one time I'm thinking in particular where he created the most separation, it was basically OPI. Like if they threw the ball to him, his hands were fully extended and he totally pushed off. So other than that, he was struggling to sort of separate at the break point. And I think it's not like that would have been independent of probably what they saw in practice. And I think the reason why Harrison just didn't get a lot of targets is because that's kind of probably what Kyler was thinking when he went into the game. He looked Marvin Harrison Jr.'s way a little bit, but he was either covered, not creating separation, whatever. You look at Kyler, 1 for 7 yesterday against the Bills on passes, any passes at any point in the field, whether it was outside the numbers, inside the numbers, beyond 10 yards. He only attempted 7 passes beyond 10 yards. So he really was not looking to push the ball deep down the field. I just did a quick search for two-man, cover 2, quarters, anything that had like not anything, but just those that had like those 2 deep safety looks. The Bills ran the 8th most coverages in week 1 of that. So like they were clearly like trying to stay back anyways, try to keep things in front of them. They didn't want anything to get over the top. And I think their game plan worked really, really well. Obviously, it was able to keep the Cardinals offense in check. They didn't have a lot of explosives, but to me, I still saw a pretty confident Kyler Murray. I still saw somebody who is one of the higher talent quarterbacks in the NFL, one that I think could play really well. I just think it's going to take a little bit of time. And for the offense to put up enough points that they did to make this game competitive down the stretch without hitting really any explosives at all, I think is a testament to just how good this offense could potentially be. But I'm right there with you with Murray. When I watched him this past game, the takeaway for me is he just doesn't trust his receivers yet. And once he does, then we'll be talking about an offense that could really be cooking, because I think that he played really, really well in that game. Any final Kyler thoughts before we get on to our next guy?
No, and then you just add that he still has the ability to get outside the pocket when it's not there, and he created some first downs scrambling. He created a first down on a zone read, like a design QB run, but still like getting outside the pocket and and creating a first down with his legs. So
Yeah.
you're always going to have that with Kyler Murray. I think that Connor looked good, to be honest. Like, the
Yeah.
running game could be good. The offensive line is going to be an issue, but like the running game has a chance to be good as well. Again, the numbers kind of don't back it up. Like we're saying, like 69 passing grade. In general, like the EPA per play was okay, but I think there's a lot to like. Again, do we know how good this Bills defense is going to be? I don't know, but a lot to like.
The EPA per play in the first half, though, was like nuclear. Like it was crazy. They were, whether it was running the ball, passing the ball, whatever, even without explosives, the EPA per play was awesome. Now, in the second half, it was equally as bad as it was. I'm pretty sure the EPA in the first half was like 0.60 something when passing, which is incredibly high. And then in the second half, it was like negative 0.6 something. So it all kind of like came together and was average. But I mean, you look at what this offense could be. Maybe we're doing rose-colored glasses, but I agree with you. I think this offense could be fun. I think Kyler's a good one. We're going to talk about Burrow next, but before we get into Burrow, TDs, tutties, taking it to the house for 6, whatever you want to call a touchdown. One thing is for sure, touchdowns matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Whether it's on the ground, in the air, special teams, defense, whatever, we don't care how they score them. We just want to bet on touchdowns. DraftKings Sportsbook, #1 place to bet on touchdowns. If you're ready to place your first bet, try betting on something simple, like a player to score a touchdown in the upcoming week. If you see a great matchup that you love and you go, man, I really think this is going to be a high-scoring affair. I think that this guy is really due for a touchdown, or maybe he's going to continue a hot streak, go to the DraftKings Sportsbook app and make your bet today. New DraftKings customers can bet just $5 and get $250 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, you also get a month of NFL Premium on them. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the promo code PFF. That's promo code PFF for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Premium on us. The offer will end September 19th, only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. If you got a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, it is 877-8-HOPE-NY, or you can just text HOPE-NY. In Connecticut, help is available for problems with gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in New Hampshire, Oregon, and Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gambling resources, visit dkng.co/FTBALL. NFL Plus premium offer available only to new and former NFL Plus subscribers. Additional NFL Plus premium terms at NFL.com/terms. I think that this is now a unfortunate trend that we have here in the career of Joe Burrow, the next quarterback that I want to talk about here, because as somebody who picked the Cincinnati Bengals in his survivor pool, pretty pissed about this one, Seth. Pretty pissed about this.
I also.
Not going to lie. I don't love the fact that I'm now out in week 1, and I'm looking to take it out on Joe Burrow via our analysis here. But look, we've talked about how the Cincinnati Bengals have not won a game to open the season since 2021. And when we were talking before the show, our producer Quinn also pointed this out to us, like, it might be a Zach Taylor thing, but it might actually be a Joe Burrow thing as well, because whether it's been coming back from injury or what, he has not played well. And Joe Burrow did not particularly play well in this game, earning a 67.2 passing grade. When you look at Joe Burrow's career since 2020, that's actually the highest PFF passing grade he has ever recorded in a week 1, which is crazy to say because it straight up was not good enough. But what did you think of Burrow? Talk to us about, what worried you here. Is it a long-term thing or what?
I don't want to go into panic mode too early, but I do think it's potentially a long-term thing. Now, you're going to get T back eventually, hopefully this week, I guess. But
right.
And that's a big deal. Like you watch Yoshivas and it's not great. I think still there's a lot to like with him, but it wasn't great on Sunday. But the thing that scares me, again, we've been saying it for 4 years, is here comes the New England Patriots disguising, getting into cover 2. And that's just not, Joe Burrow just doesn't like cover 2. I don't know what else to say. And so you end up with a ton of throws over the middle of the field, short throws to Tanner Hudson. And you're not getting anywhere with that. And obviously, you should have scored a touchdown. It's kind of a relatively fluke play, though he should have been protecting the ball. But other than that, I mean, he catches the ball at 4 yards and he gets tackled. So like that's what we're getting out of this offense when teams play cover two. And then the times where you have Jamar Chase, a tier 1 receiver in this league, in a one-on-one situation, and are they not friends anymore? Are Burrow and Chase not friends anymore? Like, I don't know what happened, because he just doesn't, it's like he didn't trust him. Jamar Chase is going to get open even if it's tight coverage. Like on his break, at the break point, Jamar Chase gets open through any means necessary. And so there's a lot of plays like that I was like confused why he just doesn't throw it. And I think the 3rd and 10 check down to end the game basically is another example of that. Like, just got to throw it to Jamar, right? He's gonna make a play for you.
Right. Sometimes it is more simple than we make it out to be. And it did feel like there were a handful of times where he could have just been like, hey, Jamar's an elite wide receiver, I got to go to him. But maybe it was the lack of practice time thing. I don't know, because of the contract. Like, perhaps that could have gone into it. It feels weird. You don't want to make too many excuses for it, because now it's obviously a trend. Like, they're coming out of the gate slow. They feel like they always have with Burrow, and obviously like the injury or the O-line or Jamar Chase's contract thing or whatever. Like, it feels like there's always been something. And to the Bengals' credit, they do seem to figure it out. Obviously, they couldn't last year because Burrow got hurt for an extended period of time, but the team still played relatively well given the fact their franchise quarterback was out. So maybe it is just like, hey, you just can't trust Cincinnati in the first 2-3 weeks of the season. You can't. And then the real Cincinnati Bengals will show up after that, and we can actually evaluate this team after. But to me, when I watch them, Burrow also just looked skittish in the pocket. Dude, when there was any pressure at all, he was like, nah, I'm out. No, I'm not doing this. And obviously you want to take care of the football, but there were times when it was a clean pocket to NFL standards. Like, NFL defensive linemen are just really good. They're going to get pressure. It's going to come from somewhere. The pocket's going to collapse a little bit. And there were a couple of times where Burrow felt any pressure at all and either just like completely retreated out of the back of the pocket or like stepped up but like wasn't actually looking to continue to throw. It's like he stepped up in the pocket to just tuck it and kind of play another down, if you will. And that, to me, also is an extension of you got to give your guys a chance. Like, you got to throw the football when you're in those situations. And so that, to me, was also worrisome about Burrow.
Yeah, well, this is a guy who, like, coming off all these injuries, and I think maybe the wrist thing is worse than we thought. Maybe there's issues there. Maybe he's not comfortable with it. Maybe it'll be better, but he's not comfortable yet. First game back. Everyone was talking about this is like an injury that like no one's ever seen before in the NFL. Like, no one's ever had this surgery. So like, I get that. But yeah, his eyes were kind of all over the place, and there was a skittishness to just the way he was looking in terms of his reads that I felt wasn't a normal Joe Burrow thing. So if we're getting this again, I think T changes the math a bit.
I think so too. I don't want to too overreact to this, because
yeah,
when you have both of these guys, all it takes is maybe a couple of good weeks in practice, or maybe just a game where you're just throwing it up to these guys and they're going to come down with it more than 50% of the time, because that's what they do. And that's all they need to basically just trust each other from that moment forward. But I didn't mean to cut you off, but I do agree. I think that T does change the math. I think that's a really good way of putting it.
Yeah, the other issue is the guy who changes the math in a negative way is their right tackle is not good. That's the problem. And it's not going to get better. Like, I mean, people are talking about benching Trent Brown already. It was really bad. First snap of the game, or the first passing snap of the game, he just gets cleaned on an inside move. And that, I think the interior of the offensive line is a lot better than it's ever been. It's kind of gelling together over the past couple of years. But with Orlando Brown and Trent Brown at tackle, like, it's tough. Like, Burrow doesn't want to be there anymore. Like you said, I don't think he really wants to be in that pocket very often.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to get a one-on-one and just throw it out to Jamar Chase on time because he'll just be open, then you're going to have to go through reads. And then you get in a situation, I think going back to the cover two stuff, if you know cover two, you can game plan, and there's a lot of down the field beaters, concepts that work against cover two. The issue is, and we saw it with even the Browns offense, is when teams disguise it and get into cover two, which I think we saw, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think we saw it felt like we saw in the games that I watched a lot more of showing one high safety and then spinning back into two high safeties, which we don't see a lot. We see the opposite a lot more. Now it's a lot tougher because if you don't have a beater called for cover two and you're running a quick game, which the Bengals love to do because they're good at it. Well, if you have 5 underneath zone defenders against 5 routes that are underneath, including, the check down to the running back, there's just not a lot of space here. So if you can get into a situation where cover two is coming and they're going to line up into it and play it, I think there's stuff you can do against it. But that really killed them, is like not really knowing that the Patriots were going to disguise as much and get into as much cover two, and it really killed them. I mean, they saw the most cover two in week 1, and you're not getting those concepts that work against cover two. And then when the Patriots do play cover one, which, I mean, they're the Patriots, of course they're going to play cover one, you don't get separation by your other receivers.
Yeah.
And you don't throw to the one guy who gets separation.
Right.
It's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. No, truly. No, I think that's it. Go ahead.
And to piggyback on your point, a recipe for both of us being out of our survivor pool already.
Second year in a row I'm out in week 1. I'm just, it sucks. You just, like, I literally paid the guy like 5 days ago, and it's just like I paid him for nothing just to pick the Bengals. Look, I think the Bengals need 2 things badly, in my opinion. They need Amarius Mims to get back, and they need him to get healthy. They need him to be able to play. Obviously, he's coming through a pec injury. He's, it's going to take him some time at the NFL level anyways, because he just didn't play a lot of college ball when he was at Georgia, because, again, he was hurt. But, like, this dude's a freak. Like, he could be a true reliable player at the right tackle position, and they would need him to be. So they need him to get back from this injury. They need him to be fully healthy, and they need him to be able to play right tackle, I think, as things move forward. Trent Brown can bounce back and play better, but overall, I think they need Amarius Mims. The other one's Jermaine Burton, who was incredible during the preseason, but, it's like, okay, well, he's sort of buried on the depth chart still. If T's active, is he even active at this point? There's got to be kind of something else going on, and we talked about that, throughout his draft process. Really talented player, but, he just didn't get the looks. He didn't get the attention that his talent deserved. Is that kind of still something that's going on in Cincinnati? Because you'd have figured in a game like this, it would have been a recipe for Burton to be able to play, and he was not a factor at all. And so that is something that I think the 3-headed monster with Burton, if he could consistently get in the lineup, would mean a lot as well, especially when T comes back. I think this offense looks different with those 3 out there, but I don't know when Burton's going to get on the field. I don't know if it's just rookie things. I don't know if it's just he's got to work his way up and he's got to earn the trust of the coaching staff or the quarterback or what, but I think he is somebody that they definitely need to step up as well. So, hey, our good friends at Gooder, they are making some of the best sunglasses that are out there. If you want stylish sunglasses for only $25 a pair, starting at $25 a pair, this is your place. Look, I am somebody who I cannot buy super expensive sunglasses. One, I just don't really think they're worth it. And 2, I lose them all the time. This is perfect for me because now I got multiple pairs of sunglasses from Gooder that I can use them all the time. And, I'm not afraid to just like take them everywhere, wear them everywhere, because I'm probably going to lose them, but it's all right. I can replace them with another Gooder pair just because their prices are so fantastic. They got a 30-day free money-back guarantee. They're lightweight, they're comfortable. You can use them for basically anything. If you're just going for a walk, if you're going for a hike, if you're going biking, whatever. 100% polarized as well. No slip, no bounce, nothing like that. They're perfect for an active lifestyle, even like pickleball. If you're into pickleball out there, Seth, I know he's a ringer at it. He's got to be wearing something like this to protect the eyes and make sure that he can see where the ball is going. Gooder, that's the place that you need to go for it. If you need a new pair of Sonys, Gooder's got you, giving PFF listeners free shipping as well on whatever they order. You can go to gooder.com/PFF. Use promo code PFF for that free shipping. Gooder, GOODR.com by the way. Offer has a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Again, that is Goodr, GOODR.com/PFF, and use that promo code PFF for some great sunglasses and some free shipping as well. I actually don't know. Are you a pickleball guy? You into it at all?
I'm not a pickleball guy. I have my issues with pickleball.
I think you're just scared to compete. That's what I heard.
Pickleball is the flag football of tennis.
Yeah, but you play flag football.
I do.
All right, last quarterback that we're talking about here. Oh, they couldn't have gone any better. Lamar, let's take it back all the way to Thursday night. Obviously, comes up a little bit short. Truly, I said this before, a game of inches, barely coming up short, taking that game into overtime in Arrowhead against the Kansas City Chiefs. A valiant effort, truly, but when I asked about some of the quarterbacks that you wanted to talk about, you brought up Lamar, and specifically it was Lamar going up against the Kansas City Chiefs, which feels like a team in their way. Because I thought that Lamar played well. There's some throws that he could have made better, but just overall, I thought he operated the pocket with a lot of confidence. He wasn't afraid to step up. Obviously, wasn't afraid to use his legs. But to me, just he was on his toes. He looked confident. He looked really good back there, but they don't get the win. And it feels like it is a reoccurring issue, as it often is when people play the Chiefs, but specifically it matters for Baltimore because they are a team in their way of even getting to a Super Bowl. So what is the defensive matchup here between what Spags is throwing at the Ravens and kind of what you think the Ravens have been doing, what they need to be doing? What do you see with this matchup here with Lamar and the Chiefs specifically?
This is a team, like you said, they're going to have to get through the Chiefs at some point again. And playing, like losing pretty bad in the AFC Championship game, having a better showing on offense in week one. But I do have to hand it to both defenses actually in that game where you felt like both teams treated this as another AFC Championship game, even though it was week one in terms of what they were doing on defense. There was nothing vanilla about anything that was going on both defenses, and especially with the Chiefs. Their issue is going to be like, the receivers are not big players for the Ravens in terms of size with Bateman and Zay Flowers. Even likely is a small tight end, even though he had a good game. Andrew's the only one who's like a normal size for his position almost. So you had L'Jarius Sneed last year beating the crap out of receivers the whole season. You don't have that anymore, though I think the guys on the outside that the Chiefs still have, except for McDuffie, are bigger players as well.
Right.
I think that's a matchup that's just not going to be in the Ravens' favor. It's like they can get beat up by this Chiefs defense. And Lamar, who ran really well, scrambled really well, and he's generally not he's obviously a good scrambler, but he is more in the design QB run stuff is where he is outstanding and amazing, and the stuff you can do with him there. But he's never been this insane scrambler. And you saw really good scrambles out of him. However, I'm looking at him saying Lamar usually throws to open receivers. I thought there was a bit more open receivers that he could throw to. Going back into cover two, a lot of cover two. And they actually felt like they had plays designed to beat cover two, and he didn't want to pull the trigger on them. I think that was a trend throughout the whole league with quarterbacks not wanting to pull the trigger on stuff that in that like 15 to 25 yard range, or maybe even 10 to 20 yard range down the field. Quarterbacks not willing to pull the trigger and throw some high level footballs. And Lamar, you were like just watching Lamar back, and you're like, hey, just pull the trigger on some of these corner routes. I mean, they kept running corner routes into cover two, thought they were open. That is the theoretical idea, is throw corner routes versus cover two, throw smash concepts versus cover two. So you're like, all right, well, you gotta show that you can compete against this Chiefs defense before you want to believe that this is a team that can beat them in the playoffs. Which like I said, I think they're going to see them in the playoffs. So That was my issue with Lamar. You saw in the first half, our boss said it during the game, under 2 yards, average depth of target after the first half. I don't know what it ended up being, but like we got to push the ball a little bit more downfield, and there were some plays to be made that I don't think that usually I think he does make, but he didn't in this game.
Yeah, I think that's been the talking point with the Ravens the whole time, and Isaiah Likely obviously showed up in a big way this in week 1, and he was able to really stand out for them. I think that he was their highest graded receiver. But yeah, I mean, he had an elite 90-point grade this past week at over 100 yards receiving. But no other receiver on the team had a receiving grade above 61. Rashad Bateman's next, and he had a 61.0. Like, Zay Flowers obviously getting more attention, and he had 12 targets compared to Bateman's just 5, so his production was a little bit better, and he was a little bit more emphasized. But there's just not a receiver that's like winning in that regard. So I wonder if it's a little bit of a trust thing. I wonder if it is sort of just this, hey, if I can't really see my receivers in space, because I felt like Lamar was pretty good at the over-the-middle stuff, like the deep crossers or the dig routes or like things like that was very much over the middle. He was very comfortable throwing, whether it was Isaiah Likely, whether it was Zay Flowers. He was very comfortable throwing those sort of crossing routes over the middle. But yes, sometimes you just got to be able to rivet to the sideline, and that was an area that I felt like he could have definitely attacked the field better. But it's so hard to kind of like talk about it in this way because you're out here mentioning what could really take them over the top. The Ravens are always so close. That's the thing. It's like they're always right there. And so when I watched Lamar's game, I went back and I watched all of his snaps. It's like, I think Lamar played well. Now, were there things they could have done better? Yeah, that's why we're having this conversation. But it's so difficult when a great QB plays well and you just go, well, again, came up short against the Chiefs. And I know that feels like it's been the NFL's curse for the last couple of years, but maybe that is just how they have to do it. You got to design things a little bit better to attack cover 2 in that way. And maybe it's just been a Lamar Jackson thing where he's not as comfortable doing that, and he's much more comfortable throwing with guys who are going horizontal versus, breaking vertically up the field to the sideline.
I'll also add, the offensive line. We talked about it the whole offseason. You already have to go to a backup, and then he's not good at right tackle.
Right. Yeah.
So
Garden. Yeah.
This was they were teetering here. Like, this has been a really good offensive line for a long time. They go and kind of rejuvenate John Simpson's career, and now he's already gone. Morgan Moses has been a good player. He's gone. Zeitler has been a good player for them. Obviously, maybe, with his age, they felt comfortable letting him go, but like, he's been a really good player for them over the years. So now you're talking about 3 guys who we just don't, we know Patrick McCarry, he's been around, but he's always been a backup. He's always been a swing tackle. Rosengarten came in and was awful. Voorhees and Falele were like fine, but I don't know if they're, well, Falele versus Chris Jones is not good, but everyone else is okay.
Yeah, objectively. Right.
But like this, I don't even think this is a great, outside of Chris Jones, this is not a great Chiefs D-line. Karlaftis hasn't come around.
Well, they're great together. They're great together under Spags, but yeah.
Yes, they exactly, because Spags is so good. But in terms of like one-on-ones, like Karlaftis hasn't come around, and their other first-round pick, and Adike Azuma, that's a whole other story. But so like, you have a solid player in like Mike Dana and like Tershawn Wharton, like they're solid players, but only really Chris Jones is above average, I would say, and he's obviously more than above average. But this offensive line, like, man, it teeters on the edge of the brink of collapse here this season. And I think we knew that. Like, I don't think I'm saying anything that no one knew, but there was some really bad reps. Like, Ronnie Stanley's going to be fine, most likely. Linderbaum, we know, is going to be good, but other than that, like, it's not. It teeters on the brink here, I think, on the O-line.
It'll be fascinating to see if there's a little bit of a blueprint here that is developing, whatever, with Lamar, and knowing, hey, he's going to beat us in a couple of ways, because people talk about that all the time. Like, oh, like this guy, you can't stop him, you can only slow him down. Maybe this is a little bit of a way that you slow down Lamar, especially when it comes to these playoff caliber defenses. There we go. Those are a handful of quarterbacks that we wanted to talk about here after week 1. We're going to be doing this every single week, myself and Seth, breaking down some quarterback performances as the year goes on. Seth, appreciate you joining me, man. This is a lot of fun.
This is always a pleasure to be in your presence and I hope we get to do it again next week and the week after and the week after.
Well, you better get used to it, buddy, because you're contractually obligated to do it next week and the week after and the week after and the week after that. I'm excited about that, though. Excited to kind of dig into quarterbacks every single week here with you. I'm Trevor Sikkema. That is Seth Galina. Thank you guys so much for watching the Quarterback Showcase here on the PFF NFL Show. We'll see you next week.